Hello, all you freedom-loving people. Today is a day of mourning. I'm sure everyone's heard that the legendary Charlie Kirk was shot and killed today. September 10th will be a day not soon forgotten. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Our hearts and prayers go out to his wife, Erica, and his family. Okay, let's get into it. Today, Turning Point USA founder and National Student Group president Charlie Kirk was shot during an event at Utah Valley University. He later passed away shortly after being taken to the hospital. Kirk often traveled to colleges to speak to students, sometimes setting up a prove me wrong table where he debated students. That table was slated to be part of the Utah appearance. Kirk was a close ally of the Trump administration, frequently visiting the White House and promoting its policies on social media, television, and through his podcast appearances. Jason Chavetz, a Republican witness who was at the event, told Fox News that he heard a shotgun and saw it knock Charlie Kirk backward. Chavetz said, "It seems like it was a close shot." Immediately after the shooting, leaders from both parties rushed to respond. President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, House Speaker Mike Johnson, Attorney General Pam Bondi, and Senate Majority Leader John Thune, among other Republicans, asked for prayers. While many Democrats also, like former Speaker Pelosi, California Governor Gavin Newsom, and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries also did the same. Later, President Trump posted again confirming Charlie Kirk's death. President Trump wrote on Truth Social, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me, and now he's no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and family. Charlie, we love you." Real America's Voice confirmed at 4:25 that Charlie Kirk died at the age of 31.
John Solomon's reporting on Just the News that he's passed. Yes, is this what I'm hearing? Yes, can I get it here?
Yes.
Yes. Wow, right here, we're having this moment, guys. Let's go around the horn, Gino. You were continue on the horrendous news that Charlie Kirk has passed.
Well, my prayers are for Erica, for her children, for his family. This is beyond devastating, Eric. I've known Charlie, as I said, since he was a child, running around, coming to conservative events.
President Trump has ordered all American flags throughout the United States to be lowered to half-mast until Sunday evening at 6 p.m. An elderly man was initially taken into custody at the scene of the shooting, and footage of his detention was shared widely on social media, with the implication being that he was the suspected shooter, but he was later released by police. Utah Governor Spencer Cox said that the state is working hand in hand with federal authorities to track down and bring to justice the person who shot Charlie Kirk. FBI Director Kash Patel later confirmed that the subject for this horrific shooting today that took the life of Charlie Kirk is now in custody. Yesterday, the Supreme Court agreed to expedite a review of lower court rulings that struck down most of President Trump's reciprocal tariffs. In the new decision, no justices dissented, and the court did not provide an explanation. President Trump says tariffs are the key to bringing manufacturing back to the U.S., and they are his main weapon against unfair trade. One example is the use of reciprocal tariffs, where the United States imposes the same rate on imports from another country that they apply to American exports. Now, the tariffs remain in effect for the time being, and the cases will be heard in the first week of November. The two cases are Learning Resources Incorporated versus Trump and VOS Selections Incorporated versus United States. The Supreme Court just combined the two tariff cases and ordered that they will be heard together. So let's briefly remember what these cases are about. In the case of Learning Resources, the lead petitioner is an Illinois-based maker of educational toys, which argues that the tariffs have adversely affected the company. In this case, a federal judge ruled on May 29th that tariffs were unlawful, saying that the International Emergency Economic Powers Act that the Trump administration cited in issuing the tariffs doesn't give presidents unlimited power to reorder the global economy. The court called the tariffs an existential threat to the toy company. But on June 3rd, the district court stayed its ruling to give the Trump administration an opportunity to appeal. And now the appeals court will hear arguments on September 30th. And in VOS Selections versus United States, a New York-based importer of alcoholic beverages challenged the tariffs. In this case, the U.S. Court of Appeals also ruled that President Trump exceeded his authority when he invoked the International Emergencies Economic Powers Act. The judges stressed that Congress never meant to give presidents unlimited power over tariffs. Recently, President Trump told reporters that he hoped the Supreme Court would uphold the tariffs. He said, "It's a very important decision, and frankly, if they make the wrong decision, it would be a devastation for our country. Without tariffs, this country is in serious, serious trouble. We've taken in almost $17 trillion of investment, which is coming in. Most of it is coming because of tariffs." And in another decision yesterday, the Supreme Court granted a Trump administration request to temporarily withhold approximately $4 billion in foreign aid funding that was previously authorized by Congress. The money was intended for foreign aid and United Nations peacekeeping projects. The decision came only a day after the Department of Justice asked the Supreme Court to hear the case. In response, Chief Justice John Roberts approved the emergency application by the DOJ in these two cases, Department of State versus AIDS Vaccine Advocacy Coalition and Global Health Council versus Trump. The justices said that they needed more time to review, but they did not provide reasons for their decision. Yesterday, a federal judge temporarily blocked President Trump from firing Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook while the lawsuit plays out in court. Late last night, Judge Jaya Cobb issued an order just 2 weeks after President Trump said he fired the Fed governor. He fired Lisa Cook over allegations of mortgage fraud. The case set up a high-stakes clash over the balance of power between the courts and the White House and could decide how far President Trump can go in reshaping the federal government. In her order, Judge Cobb issued a preliminary injunction. This means that she has ordered President Trump to not move forward for now until the court decides on the final outcome. In an opinion, the judge said that President Trump's decision is not grounded in good cause. This is because the alleged misconduct occurred before Cook's confirmation to the Fed board. A judge usually issues this kind of injunction when they think the plaintiff has a strong case, could face serious harm without it, or when the public interest is at stake. In this case, it was a mix of all those reasons. Now, President Trump could appeal the order to a higher court, as he often does, and when it comes to big constitutional fights like this, it usually ends up at the Supreme Court for the final word. In the meantime, today, Stephen Moran, who was nominated by President Trump to join the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, moved one step closer to the position. Moran currently heads the White House Council of Economic Advisors, and he was nominated by President Trump to temporarily replace Fed Governor Adriana Kugler. Last month, Kugler abruptly resigned from her position, and she went back to teaching. And this morning, members of the Senate Banking Committee voted 13-11 to advance Moran's nomination to a full Senate vote. All Republicans supported him, while Democrats opposed the nomination. So now, if confirmed by the Senate, Moran will serve on the Federal Reserve Board until the end of January, and after that, President Trump could either renominate him for a full 14-year term or select somebody else. At this point, it's unclear if Moran's confirmation process in the Senate will be completed ahead of next week's Federal Open Market Committee two-day policy meeting. During that meeting, the Fed board is set to meet in order to discuss cutting interest rates. Yesterday, President Trump signed a memorandum that called for action on misinformation in drug advertisements. The order directed Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to take appropriate action to ensure transparency and accuracy in prescription drug advertisements. It also pushed the FDA chief to take action on prescription drug ads under the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. President Trump explained in the memorandum that the FDA has long required that manufacturers, packers, or distributors provide the public with complete and balanced information, which includes both benefits and risks of a drug. President Trump said, over time, however, the FDA's requirements have permitted drug companies to include less information, particularly in broadcast advertising, and drug manufacturers' advertising has skyrocketed in recent decades. And in response to the memorandum, the HHS announced reforms. The HHS said that thousands of letters had been sent out to pharmaceutical companies inquiring about the removal of misleading ads, along with about 100 cease and desist letters that were issued to companies with deceptive ads. Talking with Fox News at the White House, RFK Jr. explained the changes to the rule.
Junior, Mr. Secretary, thanks for the time.
Thank you for having me.
The president just signed an executive order making some news here when it comes to pharmaceutical ads.
The president just signed an executive order that's an historic change in the way that pharmaceutical advertising is done on television. And the order basically reinstates, or gives us now the opportunity to reinstate the 1997 rules. Prior to 1997, pharmaceutical advertisers were required to put all the side effects on their ads. Many of them didn't advertise because it lengthened because of what it did to the length of the advertising. And the removal of that requirement in 1997, FDA changed the rule to allow them to report the side effects on a website or on a telephone. And they only had to report a few of them on television. And that triggered a proliferation of these ads.
RFK Jr. also hinted that banning pharma ads on TV may be next.
There's only 2 countries in the world that allow direct-to-consumer advertising by pharmaceutical companies on television. We're one of those countries. New Zealand is the other. It's had a disastrous impact on human health, on people's relationships with their doctors, and really on the entire gestalt where Americans are led to believe that there's a pill for every ill, and that you don't have to exercise, you don't have to pay attention to your diet. Whatever goes wrong with you, you can fix with a drug.
So how much does this change the dynamic for pharmaceutical companies that have been advertising on all kinds of channels and even online? They're going to have to do a lot more specifically.
They're going to have to report all their side effects. In some cases, that might create an advertisement that's 4 minutes long. Back prior to 1997, advertising in magazines had page after page after side effects reported. And so we don't know exactly what it will do, but we know it's going to be better for the health of Americans.
Yesterday, the Department of Homeland Security, the DHS, released video footage of another American strike on an alleged drug ship that was trying to bring cocaine into the United States. The incident occurred over the weekend. This strike was part of Operation Pacific Viper, which is a Coast Guard and Navy mission to stop drugs and human smuggling in the Eastern Pacific before they can make it to the United States. DHS posted the footage on X and said, the Coast Guard, Cutter Stone, conducted 3 interdictions in a single night, seizing nearly 13,000 pounds of cocaine and apprehending 7 suspected drug smugglers. It's unclear where the latest ships were from, but it comes after the Trump administration decimated a Venezuelan drug boat last week, which killed 11 alleged terrorists. On Monday, during an interview on CNN, Jake Tapper asked if President Trump is going to war with Chicago, but Borders Czar Tom Homan explained that the United States was at war with the foreign drug cartels.
He wrote, quote, "The President of the United States is threatening to go to war with an American city. This is not a joke. This is not normal. Donald Trump isn't a strong man. He's a scared man. Illinois won't be intimidated by a wannabe dictator," unquote. Is President Trump planning to go to war in Chicago?
Look, I think it's worth being taken out of context. If I said we're going to war with the criminal cartels. We're going to war with illegal aliens, public safety threats that rape children, that raped citizens, that committed armed robberies, that distribute narcotics that kill Americans. We're at war with the criminal cartels, and Governor Pritzker protects criminal, illegal alien, public safety threats every day in that state, along with Mayor Johnson. We proved that. The first week of the administration, I went to Chicago. I started an operation there. The first day, we arrested 9 sexual predators, most of them child rapists. We arrested 9 members of TDA. Several of those TDA members had a pistol, an illegal pistol with a switch on it, which makes that pistol fully automatic. We arrested 2 illegal aliens that had a homicide conviction. That was the first day in Chicago. So, President Trump and this administration, we're at war with the criminal cartels and those who want to murder and rape American citizens. You're damn right.
So maybe it should say criminal aliens in Chicago are about to find out why it's called the Department of War, not.
Yesterday, the Polish military said that it shot down an unspecified number of drone-type objects that breached its airspace during a Russian attack on Ukraine. Poland, which is a NATO member, shares borders with Ukraine and Russian ally Belarus. And because of its location, Poland is on the front lines of the ongoing war. The Polish military stated on X that as a result of the attack by the Russian Federation on Ukrainian territory, there was an unprecedented violation of Polish airspace by drone-type objects. This is an act of aggression that posed a real threat to the safety of our citizens. Polish officials said that their forces, along with allied assets, radar-tracked multiple objects. The Polish operational commander then decided to neutralize anything that looked like a potential threat. Officials also confirmed that some drones that violated Polish airspace were shot down. Now, the crash sites are being found and secured. Polish Prime Minister Tusk confirmed the military operations, and Poland's defense minister explained further that Polish military and jets stay in close contact with NATO commands. A NATO spokesperson stated on X that Secretary General Mark Rutte is in communication with the Polish leadership. It's unclear how many drones were shot down in the operation, but Ukrainian President Zelensky said that Russia launched 415 drones and 40 cruise and ballistic missiles against Ukraine yesterday, which included at least 8 drones that breached Polish territory. Zelensky also offered to share with Poland the data it has on the recent Russian strike. Actually, Poland has been on high alert ever since 2022 when a stray Ukrainian missile hit a village and killed 2 people shortly after Russia invaded Ukraine. Today, Polish allies in the West said that the recent incursion into Polish airspace was intentional, saying that this is a sign of the conflict escalating. EU Chief Ursula von der Leyen blasted the incursion, and she called it reckless and an unprecedented violation of Poland and Europe's airspace. President Trump also reacted to the news. He wrote on Truth Social, "What's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones?" Here we go. Matthew Whitaker, who is the U.S. ambassador to NATO, also said that the U.S. stands firmly behind its NATO partners. So what has Russia said? In the beginning, Russia's TASS news agency reported that Poland's airspace admitted shooting down multiple drones in its airspace, but they stayed silent on Poland's claim that the drones came from Russia. Then later, Russian envoy in Poland, Andrzej Ordash, said that Poland had no proof, and he insisted that the drones actually came from Ukraine. Ordash told RIA, a state-owned news agency, "We know one thing, these drones were flying from the side of Ukraine." And Belarus backed Russia and suggested that it was just an accident. Yesterday, street protests in Nepal escalated into a movement to overthrow the government. Demonstrators set fire to government buildings and politicians' residences, and they attacked several leaders. And Prime Minister Ali, who is the chairman of the Communist Party of Nepal, announced his resignation. The street protests that began on Monday started as an expression of public discontent over Nepal's social media ban, but the protests quickly escalated into widespread dissatisfaction with government corruption and the economic situation. As of Tuesday evening, the crackdown by authorities resulted in at least 22 deaths and injured more than 300 people. The protests quickly escalated into a resistance movement against the communist regime, spreading to other cities in Nepal and being dubbed the Generation Z protests. On Tuesday, the situation rapidly spiraled out of control. Protesters stormed government buildings, the parliament complex, and residences of Prime Minister Ali and several senior officials, setting them ablaze. The capital, Kathmandu, was engulfed in smoke and flames. Numerous videos circulating online showed the former party leader and the current finance minister being captured alive and brutally beaten by protesters. Video footage shows Prime Minister Ali and several senior officials fleeing by helicopter to Kathmandu's international airport, preparing to escape. Hundreds of soldiers were present to provide security. Protesters attempted to disrupt the aircraft's takeoff. The whereabouts of these officials remains unknown at this time. Video footage also shows a high-ranking official fleeing by helicopter before protesters arrived. Other officials were unable to board the aircraft, so they hastily escaped by hanging outside the helicopter. They held on to people and belongings beneath the helicopter with ropes. Video footage also shows other officials fleeing in vehicles. They rammed into protest crowds before being surrounded by demonstrators on the streets. Protesters set fire to the headquarters of the Communist Party of Nepal. One demonstrator climbed the flagpole, tore down the party flag, and tossed it into the crowd below. The crowd erupted in cheers. Nepalese Prime Minister Ali resigned following demands from protesters. Prior to his resignation, 3 other ministers had also stepped down. An aide to Nepalese President Bandari stated that the president accepted Prime Minister Ali's resignation and discussed procedures for selecting a new leader. India TV News reported that Bandari also resigned shortly thereafter. However, Bandari later issued a statement calling for dialogue among all parties in order to resolve the issue. The Nepalese military has urged all parties to engage in political dialogue. Over the past decade, Nepal has seen several changes in government. The recently resigned Prime Minister Ali is regarded as the founder of the Communist Party of Nepal. He served as Prime Minister 3 times. Ali has long been pro-China, and he suppressed Tibetans. In July of 2024, shortly after his 3rd term began, Ali broke with tradition by choosing Beijing as his first foreign destination instead of the customary India. He advocated deepening ties with Beijing and participating in the Belt and Road Initiative. He also attended the Beijing military parade days earlier, where Xi Jinping treated him as a VIP guest. Yet, upon returning home, he was abruptly ousted. Chinese netizens are buzzing, saying that he got too close to Xi Jinping and caught his bad luck. Though Nepal is a small country, it is nonetheless governed by a coalition government that was formed by communist parties. Its sudden collapse has sent shockwaves through Zhongnanhai and Beijing. The social conditions and forms of social conflict in Nepal prior to this coup bear a striking resemblance to those across mainland China. The immediate trigger for the coup was the Nepalese government's shutdown of all social media platforms, stifling citizens' freedom of speech. This move essentially mirrored the Chinese Communist Party's tactics. The Nepalese Communist government's corruption, the ostentatious display of wealth by the children of the powerful elite, the poor economic conditions and soaring unemployment rates have widened the gap between the rich and poor, all of which are also true reflections of Chinese society. The recent developments in Nepal are closely tied to the military stance of neutrality. The army's refusal to directly intervene in the crackdown led to the swift collapse of the Nepalese government. The Chinese Communist Party now faces a similar crisis. On the surface, the Chinese Communist Party appears to maintain tight control over the military, but everyone knows that intense internal power struggles are now unfolding within the CCP's armed forces, with the vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, Zhang Yushua, effectively in command. He does not share Xi Jinping's vision. Should large-scale protests erupt across Chinese society, it remains highly questionable whether the military would obey Xi Jinping's orders to assist the CCP in suppressing the populace. Some Chinese citizens are able to bypass the Great Internet Firewall in China to access outside news. They leave comments under videos related to Nepal, lamenting, "When will such good fortune come our way?" And that's a wrap for this episode. Thank you so much for your support of Front Page. Please remember to leave a comment below the video. This is really helping us to be seen all around the world. The more people who watch Front Page, the more freedom-loving people the world will have. And please hit the like button and hit the notification bell after subscribing. And please share this video with your friends and family, because everybody deserves to know the truth.